The story of Benedict Arnold is one of the most compelling and controversial in American history. A man whose name has become synonymous with betrayal, Arnold's life was a complex mixture of brilliance, ambition, and bitterness. To understand whether he was truly a traitor or a misunderstood tactical genius, we must journey back to the very beginning. Born in 1741 in Norwich, Connecticut, Benedict Arnold grew up in a modest family. His father, a successful merchant, died when Benedict was just a child, leaving the family with limited means. From an early age, Arnold showed signs of a restless spirit and a hunger for recognition and success. As tensions between the American colonies and Britain began to escalate, in the early 1770s, Arnold found himself drawn to the burgeoning revolutionary cause. He was a man of action, bold, confident, and not afraid to challenge authority. When war finally broke out in 1775, Arnold seized the opportunity to prove himself. His early military career was marked by daring exploits and an unyielding determination. He volunteered for the siege of Boston, where his courage in battle began to earn him a reputation. But Arnold's journey was far from smooth. His ambition often clashed with the cautious leadership around him, setting the stage for a tumultuous path that would ultimately lead to his infamous betrayal. Yet the question remains, was Arnold's later treason the act of a villain? Or was it the result of a man pushed to the brink, one whose tactical genius had been overlooked and betrayed by his own side? As we unravel Arnold's story, we will explore the complexities of his character and the events that shaped his fate. From his early struggles to his rise as a Revolutionary War hero, to the bitter disillusionment that led to his infamous decision, this is a tale of ambition, loyalty, and the high cost of war. As the American colonies edged closer to rebellion, Benedict Arnold's restless ambition found fertile ground. When the battles of Lexington and Concord erupted in April 1775, signaling the start of the Revolutionary War, Arnold was quick to act. Without waiting for formal orders, he took it upon himself to join the fight. Arnold's first significant military action was during the Siege of Boston, where colonial militia surrounded the city, attempting to oust the British. Though not initially commissioned as an officer, Arnold's daring and decisiveness quickly earned him a captain's rank. He was known for leading from the front, often placing himself in the most dangerous positions. But it was his role in the invasion of Canada that truly showcased his boldness and tactical mind. In September 1775, Arnold led an arduous and grueling expedition through the wilderness of Maine, one of the most challenging marches in military history, to join forces with General Richard Montgomery. Despite brutal weather, starvation, and constant danger, Arnold pushed his men forward, demonstrating remarkable leadership under extreme conditions. The assault on Quebec City that December was a pivotal moment. Arnold's troops fought fiercely, but the campaign ultimately failed, and Montgomery was killed. Arnold himself was wounded but refused to retreat. His determination during the siege earned him respect and recognition among his peers and superiors. Upon returning to American lines, Arnold's bravery and initiative were rewarded with a commission as a brigadier general in 1776. He soon found himself at the center of the New York campaign, defending the vital Hudson River corridor from British advances. His aggressive and sometimes reckless tactics slowed the British, earning him praise but also raising eyebrows among more cautious commanders. Arnold's relationship with General George Washington began to take shape during this period. Washington admired Arnold's courage and tenacity, often praising him for his willingness to take risks. Yet, despite his military successes, Arnold began to feel the sting of political neglect. He frequently clashed with other officers and colonial politicians, frustrated by what he saw as favoritism and a lack of proper recognition. These early campaigns laid bare Arnold's strengths and weaknesses. A fearless leader with undeniable tactical skill, but a volatile temper and a growing resentment toward those he believed undervalued his contributions. As the war dragged on, these feelings would fester, setting the stage for the dramatic twist to come. The year 1777 was pivotal, not just for Benedict Arnold, but for the entire Revolutionary War. The British devised a bold plan to split the rebellious colonies by seizing control of the Hudson River Valley, aiming to isolate New England from the rest of the colonies. The capture of Fort Ticonderoga and the subsequent campaign to control the region became the stage for one of Arnold's most defining moments. Arnold's leadership at the battles of Saratoga remains legendary. As British General John Burgoyne's forces advanced southward from Canada, American forces scrambled to intercept. Arnold, though technically sidelined due to disputes with other officers and political rivalries, was relentless in his determination to stop the British advance. At the Battle of Freeman's Farm on September 19, 1777, Arnold's aggressive tactics shocked both allies and enemies. Despite orders to hold back, Arnold led several fierce counterattacks against Burgoyne's forces, inflicting significant damage and slowing their progress. His boldness on the battlefield was crucial in preventing a quick British victory. Though Arnold was wounded in the leg during the battle and was ordered to withdraw, he defied orders and continued to lead his men. His presence on the front lines inspired the troops, who were inspired by his fearless resolve. The climax came at the Battle of Bemis Heights on October 7, 1777. Arnold, now back in command despite political tensions, spearheaded a decisive assault that broke the British lines and forced Burgoyne's surrender. This victory was a turning point in the war, securing French support for the American cause and lifting colonial morale. Yet, despite his heroics, Arnold's relationship with the Continental Congress and fellow officers deteriorated. His wounds left him unable to continue field command, and disputes over promotions and recognition deepened his resentment. Arnold's valor at Saratoga cemented his place as one of America's greatest military minds, but also planted seeds of bitterness that would grow into betrayal. His tactical genius saved the revolution, but his personal grievances began to overshadow his patriotism. Despite his heroic role in the Saratoga campaign, Benedict Arnold found himself increasingly alienated from the very cause he had fought so fiercely to defend. His military successes did not translate into the political rewards or social standing he craved. In fact, Arnold's frustrations only deepened as Congress and fellow officers seemed to overlook or undermine him. One key source of tension was Arnold's relationship with the Continental Congress. The political body, struggling to manage the war effort, was often slow and inconsistent with promotions and compensation. Arnold, despite his battlefield brilliance, felt the sting of neglect when Congress denied him promotions he believed he deserved. His disputes over rank and pay became public, damaging his reputation among some peers. Meanwhile, Arnold's personal life was equally tumultuous. In 1779, he married Peggy Shippen, a young woman from a prominent Philadelphia Loyalist family. Peggy's connections and sympathies to the British Crown would later prove significant. Their marriage provided Arnold with social standing and new opportunities, but also exposed him to conflicting loyalties and pressures. Adding to his woes, Arnold faced accusations of corruption and misuse of power as military commander in Philadelphia. Some of these charges were politically motivated, while others reflected the messy realities of wartime governance. Still, they contributed to his growing sense of betrayal and isolation. Arnold's bitterness was compounded by his strained relationship with General George Washington. Though Washington admired Arnold's military talent, he was wary of Arnold's volatile temper and outspoken nature. Moreover, Arnold resented being sidelined from key commands and not receiving the trust he felt he deserved. By 1779, Arnold was commanding the fort at West Point, a strategically vital position on the Hudson River. But his loyalty was wavering. The combination of personal grievances, political frustrations, and financial difficulties made him vulnerable to British overtures. In the shadows, British agents began courting Arnold, exploiting his dissatisfaction. What started as covert communications grew into a full-blown conspiracy, one that would shock the nation and stain Arnold's name forever. By the summer of 1779, Benedict Arnold's simmering resentments had reached a boiling point. The man who had once been hailed as a hero now found himself isolated, disillusioned, and deeply embittered. His marriage to Peggy Shippen, a woman whose family remained loyal to the British Crown, brought him into contact with Loyalist sympathizers and British agents. It was through these connections that Arnold began the fateful path toward treason. Arnold's discontent was not merely personal, it was also financial. He was burdened with debts and felt Congress had not fairly compensated him for his service. His lucrative command at West Point offered opportunities for profit, and his mindset had shifted from patriotic sacrifice to personal gain. British Major John Andre became Arnold's primary contact, operating as a secret agent in New York City. The two men exchanged coded letters, plotting to hand over West Point, the key to controlling the Hudson River and splitting the rebellious colonies. If successful, this act could have been catastrophic for the American cause. Despite the high stakes, Arnold's betrayal was meticulous and calculated. He was not simply a traitor acting out of desperation. He was a man who believed his tactical genius and contributions had been undervalued, and who now saw an alliance with the British as the best path forward. The plot required precision and secrecy. Arnold arranged to meet Andre in person to finalize the plans. Their meeting on the night of September 21st, 1780, is shrouded in tension and intrigue, one of the most dramatic moments of the Revolutionary War. But fate intervened. Major Andre was captured by American militiamen while carrying incriminating documents revealing the conspiracy. Arnold, warned of Andre's capture, fled down the Hudson River to British lines, escaping what would have been certain arrest and execution. The exposure of the plot sent shockwaves through the colonies. Arnold was branded a traitor, his name forever linked to betrayal. But even as the new American government condemned him, questions lingered about his motives, his military genius, and the events that led to this dramatic fall from grace. The story of Benedict Arnold's betrayal reaches its climax at West Point, a fortress of paramount strategic importance. Nestled on a commanding bend of the Hudson River, West Point controlled access to the vital waterway, a lifeline for both the British and the Continental armies. For Arnold, who had been given command of this key position in 1780, the opportunity to deliver it into British hands was the culmination of months of secret plotting. Arnold's tenure at West Point was marked by a curious mix of diligence and duplicity. Outwardly, he appeared to be a loyal and competent commander, strengthening fortifications and preparing defenses. Yet behind the scenes, he was negotiating the fortress's surrender, sending coded messages to British intelligence, and coordinating with Major John Andre, the British spy tasked with facilitating the transfer. The clandestine meeting between Arnold and Andre on the evening of September 21st, 1780 at the Tappan Zee, a quiet spot along the Hudson, was fraught with tension. Andre, disguised in civilian clothes, carried detailed plans of West Point's defenses, hidden in his boot. The hope was that Andre would slip back through American lines, deliver the intelligence to his superiors, and West Point would fall without a fight. However, Andre's journey was abruptly ended when he was stopped by American militiamen near Tarrytown, New York. A search revealed the incriminating documents, exposing the plot in full. Despite Andre's pleas and his honorable demeanor, he was convicted as a spy and hanged, a grim fate that shocked even his British allies. Arnold, warned by loyalists of Andre's capture, fled West Point under the cover of night, narrowly escaping the wrath of the American authorities. His defection to the British side was a profound blow to the American cause, a betrayal that reverberated through the colonies and abroad. The fallout was immediate and severe. Arnold's name became a byword for treachery, his previous heroism overshadowed by the magnitude of his treason. Congress condemned him in the strongest terms, and the fledgling United States faced the sobering reality that even their greatest heroes could turn against them. Yet, while Arnold's actions were undeniably traitorous, many historians argue that his military mind remained sharp and that his grievances were not without merit. The West Point conspiracy remains one of the most dramatic and debated episodes of the American Revolution, a story of loyalty, ambition, and the thin line between heroism and betrayal. Benedict Arnold's narrow escape from West Point marked the beginning of a new chapter in his tumultuous life, one of exile, suspicion, and bitter struggle. After fleeing to British lines, Arnold was welcomed as a valuable asset, but the reception was mixed. Though the British eagerly exploited his intimate knowledge of American defenses, many viewed him with distrust, wary of his sudden change of allegiance. Arnold was commissioned as a brigadier general in the British Army, tasked with leading raids against his former compatriots. His first major operation under British command came in 1781, when he led a brutal raid on New London, Connecticut. The attack was marked by destruction and controversy, further fueling American hatred for the man once celebrated as a hero. Despite his military skill, Arnold never achieved the stature or respect he had in the Continental Army. His British superiors were cautious, sometimes sidelining him in favor of career officers. Moreover, his reputation as a traitor followed him relentlessly, isolating him socially and politically. In the years after the war, Arnold lived in England, struggling to rebuild his life but never escaping the shadow of his betrayal. His name remained a curse in America, a symbol of treason that still echoes centuries later. Yet, even in exile, Arnold's military genius cannot be denied. His early campaigns shaped key American victories, and his tactical innovations influenced warfare on both sides. The complexity of his character, brilliant, flawed, embittered, makes him one of history's most fascinating figures. As we reflect on Benedict Arnold's legacy, we are left with a profound question. Was he simply a traitor driven by greed and spite, or a tactical genius who felt betrayed by his own country and chose what he believed was the only path left? Benedict Arnold's name is forever etched in American history as the ultimate symbol of treason. Yet, the legacy he left behind is far more complicated than a simple label of traitor. For centuries, historians and scholars have debated the man behind the infamous act, attempting to unravel the motives and complexities that shaped his decisions. On one hand, Arnold's betrayal is seen as a stark warning against disloyalty. His name has become synonymous with treachery, invoked in countless works of literature, political speeches, and popular culture. The emotional weight of his defection struck a deep chord in the American psyche, reflecting fears of betrayal within one's own ranks. However, a closer examination reveals a man who was, in many respects, a brilliant and dedicated military leader. His early career demonstrated strategic brilliance, courage, and a willingness to take risks that many of his contemporaries lacked. His leadership at key battles, particularly Saratoga, was crucial to the American cause and arguably altered the course of the war. Historians have explored the social and political context that contributed to Arnold's downfall. His frustration with Congress, disputes over rank and pay, and the personal betrayals he perceived paint a picture of a man caught between conflicting loyalties and a sense of injustice. His marriage to Peggy Shippen with her loyalist ties further complicated his allegiance. Some modern interpretations suggest that Arnold's actions, while unquestionably treasonous, might also be viewed as the desperate acts of a man who felt abandoned by his own country. Others argue that no justification can erase the betrayal and the damage it caused. Beyond America, Arnold's story offers timeless lessons about leadership, ambition, and the human cost of war. His life reminds us that history is rarely black and white, but often painted in shades of gray, where heroes and villains can inhabit the same soul. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Empire History Central for more deep dives into the fascinating tales of history's most unforgettable figures. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, and let us know in the comments. Do you see Benedict Arnold as a villain, a misunderstood hero, or something in between? Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep exploring history's greatest stories.